Okay, my iPhone says it's 10 a.m. So we're gonna get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you. First off, thank you for joining. This is gonna be a great session. Goal here is share a bunch of different tips and tricks to really, one, take advantage of the opportunity on social media, and specifically we're gonna talk about Facebook here. How can you take advantage of that and convert those people that are on these platforms into actual transactions? And that's going to be our goal today. My name is Keith Hawken. I am the head of sales and service with Top Producer. Been part of the industry now going on almost 23 years. And a couple of things, just housekeeping items. This is recorded, so everyone's going to get a copy of the recording afterwards. Also, I think someone asked, we do have a special guest with us today. We actually have Edward Luna. I'll introduce Edward in a minute. That is why he is also on today with us. So I'll introduce him shortly here. But a couple things. This will be recorded. Everyone will get a copy of it. We're going to try and keep this, within, 45 to an hour is our goal today. I want to be respectful of your time. We appreciate you coming to spend it with us. And the goal here is to give you some tips and strategies. What we're going to cover today: lead generation. Why is it important today? And specifically today's market. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about initial follow-up strategy, the short game that you need to really connect with these people, online consumers, and more specifically, consumers that are being generated through social platforms. The long game. So I wish to start this off, I wish everyone that inquired off of an ad on social media or was ready to buy. The reality is that's far from the truth. So we're going to talk about that, and Edward's going to share a little bit of how he looks at both the short game and the long game that you need to really turn these people into clients. And yeah, as I mentioned, we've got Edward here, who's really a real estate agent. He's one of you, and he's going to share what works for him. So as always, recording deck. Let's get into it. So first off, Edward, thank you for joining. Edward is a realtor and investor from El Paso in Texas. Edward has 20 years of sales experience. And Edward, how long have you been selling real estate for?
I've been in real estate just over 2 years, but yeah, in the professional sales industry for over 20 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been around.
He's been around, yeah. And one of the things that why Edward's here is, like, he's kind of taking the approach of, I've got to generate a bunch of new people to talk to and nurture them to turn them into opportunities for you as you grow your business and establish yourself in real estate. So Edward's gonna chime in here as we go through. The one quote I think that I love from Edward here is when we spoke a couple of days ago, is the tools are there, it's up to you to close the leads. I think that's going to be the perspective that you bring today, and really talk about what you do to close those opportunities. So I'm excited to have you, and thanks for joining us, Edward. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing is, let's start with the number one lead conversion mistake, and this is something that I've seen over 2 decades of being in this vertical, in this space. Is we sometimes focus too much on the lead generation part of the equation and not enough on the follow through. And I think it's a mistake, because you can't be successful following up or converting leads if you don't have a process in place. And this is something that I think is really, really important. Is, look, you could spend a lot of money acquiring people to talk to, but if you don't have a process, a system, a path, or a journey that those people go through that ultimately leads to them wanting to work with you, you're not going to see the return on investment. And so the one thing I think it's really important for us to understand is, if you're doing any online advertising, it doesn't matter what platform it is, you're going to be talking to people that are in different places in their journey. Right. And Edward, you've been, doing this, for, a couple of years now. You've been, a client of Top Producer. What have you kind of seen, the types of people that you've been talking to that you've generated online? What's kind of the biggest themes that you've seen?
Well, I mean, with the way the industry is nowadays, I mean, you really have to focus on and getting some of those leads. And the people obviously are, with the rates the way they are, they're kind of like sitting on the fence. Should I? Shouldn't I? And I think that was more important, to really be in contact with them and be a resource as well. And that's really a big part of also just the converting these leads and staying on top of it,
Yeah.
because they need a place, a person to go to, a resource, and you want to be that resource for them. So that's definitely key, and especially in today's real estate, the way it is, different from a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely
Yeah.
important.
I think it's valid, right? I mean, I think that's I love what you said, is be a resource. When you think about, so here's the reality. People, lead conversion and lead follow-up is a contact sport. Okay. To be a resource, it may not happen in call 1, call 2, call 3, call 4. Could be up to 6 to 12 attempts. So we're going to talk about that. At the same time, we have to also understand that consumers that are looking at real estate, they might not be ready to buy right now. So being that resource is what they're looking for, someone to help them along that journey. So we'll talk about how Edward does that today. But the one thing is, we need to talk about, 1, how do we generate leads? 2, how do we convert them and follow up with them? So in today's market, I'm just going to be honest, you are going to have to cast a wider net. Some of you might have been in the business for 20, 25 years. You might have, this huge database of things that you've developed over time. The reality of it is, with where the interest rates are right now, there's a lot less people that are willing to sell. Okay. And and it makes sense. Why would they give up, those low interest rates to buy something, for the same price and have to pay more? So what that means right now is it's going to take more people. You're going to have to expand your reach to really hit your goals that you're used to. And even traditionally, Edward, you've been in the business 2 years. People that have been in business 10, 12 years, I'm sure some of you on here are saying, yeah, that's me. I've got to cast a wider net to get to my goals and hit my goals. So lead generation, I think, is really, really important today. The other thing too, I've seen this before, is when we're in certain economic conditions that we have right now, I've seen people pull back and hope that they're going to be able to achieve their outcomes, right? And, this is an opportunity for you to actually grab market share, right? Versus give it up. And the way we do that is we really got to look at, hey, what am I doing? What channels am I using to add new people to my pipeline that I can potentially sell real estate to and help through that journey? Edward, what made you you've been with Top Producer for a year. You recently, signed up for our social media lead generation platform. What was kind of like the thought behind you, kind of doubling down on social media as a source of new business for yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, with Top Producer, when this came out, it kind of turned on the bulb in my head. It's like, okay, now you need as many tools as you can that's going to work for you, and this is definitely a tool that you want to have on your tool belt. We have social media, Instagram, Facebook, and all that, but you really need to have something that's going to allow you to be diligent and dedicated to follow up in these leads, especially in today's market. And I've been a customer with Top Producer for quite some time now, so I'm very familiar with CRMs. But when I saw the Social Connect came in, I said, "Oh, this is perfect addition as an asset for me to really utilize as a tool to be effective and to think out of the box and really create those leads and get them in." And Social Connect definitely fill that void.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why is, look, the reality of it is, and Edward, we talked about this a couple of days ago, people are still buying. People are still selling. As much as, there's a lot of things going on, the reality is there's transactions still occurring. And the reason for that, life events. Life events happen in every economic environment, right? People have, families are growing, job relocation, empty nesters are like downsizing, divorce, right? Liquidation of investment. Like, there are life events that are happening, right? They're potentially, some of them are not planned, right? They just happen, and people have to move. They have to sell. They want to purchase. So I think the one thing that even in every economic environment we're in, life events happen. And when those life events happen, there's usually real estate somewhat attached to it. And that's where, like, I think the opportunity exists is, right, is we really want to cast that net so we can capitalize on when, that those life events do happen, because those are the people that are still buying and selling real estate today. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, someone's buying somewhere.
Yeah.
So you got to be on top of, you got to be on top of mind for them as well. So
yeah,
definitely, I agree with you. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So I think one thing too, and we're gonna talk about this, social media, I'm gonna be upfront, is the most affordable place for you to cast that net. There's a lot of areas for you to go and acquire people to talk to, but the one thing you're gonna find is there's none more affordable than social media. One, it's got the eyeballs. Two, you can target very specifically to what you're looking for. It is an affordable solution. So we're gonna talk about that as well. But the first thing is when you get those people, you have to follow up, and you have to follow up quickly. And here's the data, and I probably have said this 100 times now over the last couple of, over the last couple of decades, but you're 100 times more likely to have a conversation, and you're 21's more likely to actually qualify someone. And I'm going to say this, you cannot convert someone if you don't have a conversation and then you understand their needs and wants and desires, right? Those are the first two steps that are kind of part of the path to somebody actually transacting, right? They inquired, they're interested. Edward, I love your approach. Like, I'm a resource. How do you be a resource? You call them and say hi.
Yep,
Right.
exactly. Exactly.
And then how do you qualify them, right? You ask them questions about, hey, what made you inquire? What did you like? What are you looking for? And really understand their current state, right? And I think this is where, tools are super important. Because like for Edward, like, Top Producer helps you do this today, right? You get
Correct.
these leads. You have a mix, correct me if I'm wrong, you're using kind of a mix of automation and your own personal touch.
Correct. Correct. Yeah,
Right?
I use my own templates or some personalize it a little bit after you make that initial contact. But yes, definitely you have these all these preset emails for you that is going to nurture that for those new leads and just again be on top of mind again. Keep going back to that first in and they definitely have you in mind.
Yeah, and look, we're all busy, right? This is where
Yep.
technology can help you. Is leads are going to come in at all times of the day. Doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to be available when they do come in. So having technology kick off that auto response and instantly respond on your behalf to start that conversation is super helpful, because if you don't do it quickly, what are the chances your competitor will?
Mm.
The one thing I think we have to remember is that consumers are out there looking at real estate, and they're not looking in one place, right? And if you
Perfect.
don't
Yeah.
follow up, your competitor might be, right? And I think that's where technology is such an important part. So, again, be personable, ask questions, right? Be quick. The other thing too is to be a resource. It's got to be about them. It's got to be how you can help them and educate them with that journey. And I think that's what people are looking for when I really think about the role that you play. Is you're there to help me and educate me on that process to help me achieve my dream, right? And I think that's really important. Is sometimes we want to skip that part, right? We want to, I got this person, it's Bob, and I want to sell Bob a home. It's just not that easy, right? What have you found? Edward, you mentioned you're a resource. What have you found to be really effective?
Well, I mean, just being aware, yeah, going back to the resource. I mean, sometimes we're all guilty of it. You just kind of want to get that lead. You want to get their business, sell the home,
Yeah.
list the home, whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of steps to that. And what I mean by being a resource is that you're going to provide them, that information on the market, the city, the neighborhood, what's going on in real estate as a whole. Like you have on the screen,
Yeah.
you get out for free guides, checklists, buying and selling tips. I mean, that is huge. And I think what we lose sight of that. So I kind of take a step back and put myself in their shoes and kind of say, well, what would I like to see from my potential real estate agent that I want to work with? So yeah, that initial follow-up is huge, definitely.
I think it's also a lot more than just following up. You've got to provide them something of value that,
Mhm.
all the other thing too, is you said, like, what would I want to get for someone, and how would I want to be serviced? I think that's really important, because I can tell you there's probably a lot of consumers where, I'm gonna be honest with you, they inquire about real estate, they never hear back. Okay. They inquire about real estate, they're not providing any information or value, like we just talked about, educating them on the market, the neighborhood, guides, checklists, home buying, selling tips. Like those are things that are all important because you're going to have people that have never transacted before. You're going to have people that have, they still need help. So I think it's really important that we are providing value and content. And that's where, like, you know, again, top producer kind of, that's where we excel and really try to help agents is be that resource and help them educate. The other thing too, I think is important is this is great and all, but you've got to be persistent. And I mentioned this earlier, you know, connecting with leads is a contact sport, right? And one of my favorite things that I love is the triplet approach, right? Like if you're going to do a follow-up, you need to call them, you need to text them, you need to email them and stay front and center with them. What have you know, Edward, what have you found like to be the best, like when you think about, you know, you've gotten all these leads, what have you found that works best for you to actually get that conversation going?
Well, I think there's two things that work for me. You know, I get that lead in, and I know automatically I'm going to call them. Sometimes I'll call them that same day if the lead comes in the morning. But my goal is within 24 hours. So, like an example, yesterday I got 3 leads yesterday afternoon. I haven't called them yet because I got them yesterday about 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, the evening. So I'm going to call them today for sure. But I do know that they got a text from me, automated through Social Connect,
Yep.
as well as an email. So when I call them up, I'm not just calling them.
All right, is that me or did we lose Edward? He froze. Okay. All right. So that's fine. Well, hopefully Edward will come back. I think the one thing, you know, when we think about the triplet approach is you need to diversify your outreach efforts, right? Just calling or just texting or just emailing is not enough. And you know, again, different approaches, but I love the idea of using automation to introduce you to somebody. You have to remember these leads, you're a stranger to them. They don't know you, you don't know them. And having, you know, that mix of, you know, text, email to kind of introduce your name to them. Edward is located in El Paso, Texas. So calling, texting, email, it's important that you're doing all three. You know, use technology. Oh, there's Edward. He's joined back. Sorry, you're on mute, Edward.
Okay, sorry about that. It dropped. My apologies.
No worries. So I think the most important thing is don't just rely on one source. Like I've seen this happen before where we rely on email, right, to help us, you know, build that connection. I will say this: the most important thing is to introduce yourself and say hi. You know, I always say this to, you know, the real estate agents I work with closely is, what's the worst thing that can happen from saying hi? It's not so bad, right? Hey, I'm not interested. You know, why are you calling me? Just, it's something you got to deal with. But have a process that incorporates this because you're going to have to reach out to these people 6 to 12 times to even get to that point where you maybe have a conversation. So make sure you follow the system. Here's some scripts, by the way. So these will be sent out to everybody. But we've provided you some scripts that you can use for voicemail, call scripts when you actually call them. Like, what do you say to these people? You know, I think, you know, there's a way where this can be very natural and organic and it doesn't have to be awkward. You know, sometimes there's always that fear, like, oh my gosh, what do I say to this person? Just call them and say hi. What's the worst thing that can happen? And that's how a conversation starts, and make it about them. Hey, I'm here to help you. How can I help you? Right. And I think that's how you start building a relationship with somebody and start kicking off that journey. The other thing also is the other thing too is hey, not everyone's gonna be ready to buy right now. Is once you do have that conversation, make sure you have a plan to kind of nurture them, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Is a lot of these people, it's going to take time. You're going to find people that, hey, their needs are right now. You're going to find people that's like, hey, I'm just looking to starting my research. Maybe I can't afford right now, or I don't have the I had the financing available. There's lots of reasons that people can't buy right now. There's also lots of reasons that people are buying right now. But you're going to have a mixture. You're building a pipeline here. We're going to talk about lead generation here in a minute, right? But the most important thing is is that you need to make sure that you have a multi-channel approach to staying in touch with people. It kind of comes back to what I said earlier, where it's important that you're providing different information, whether that be, social media, direct mail, blogs, podcasts, email. There's all these different channels, and then there's email, text, there's, calling them. There's all these different channels. Just making sure that you're not doubling down on one. You need to really kind of make sure you have a diverse approach to increase your reach, right? So when we think about that, channels that you should consider. So when we think about acquiring people, there's, I think, a mixture of offline and online is the best. You need to have a multi-channel approach, right? So, hey, social media is we're highlighting that today. It's the most affordable in my mind, but I still have agents that I've worked with for a long time. Direct mail works for them, right? Their blog is a huge source of new leads for them. They are the most efficient email marketers I've ever met, right? Different people have different things. The one thing that you really want to think about is, what are your goals, right? Like I would probably assume that, look, there's hundreds of you on this webinar right now. A lot of you right now is like, I need to find new people, right? And I need to find new people because I need to increase my transaction volume, right? And there's a ratio there, for every 100 people you generate, how many of them do you actually end up talking to? And then of those ones that you talk to, how many are ready to buy or sell? And it's a numbers game. And I think it's really important that, sure, all of you right now are like, gosh, I need 50 more people every month in my database, right? For me to get to my goals this year that I'm trying to hit. So there's a metric there. And I think you need to have a plan of, okay, what sources are you going to use to do that, and diversify. So the one area that we're going to focus on though today is social media. And the reason for it, one, it's quick, it's affordable, and you can get a high volume of people. Edward, we didn't talk about this, but you've been using Social Connect. So for everyone that doesn't know, Social Connect is Top Producers lead generation solution on Facebook. How many
Correct.
leads have you been averaging per month since you started?
Oh, let's see. We're looking at we're easily looking at about 30.
Right, 30 leads per month. Yeah,
and that's a good figure. I'm not
Yep.
exaggerating.
Yeah,
But that's
no.
about between 20. Well, I mean, there's 25 to 30, but there's days where I'll get 3. Those days I'll get
Right.
1. But to answer that question, yeah, about 30.
Right.
That's a good number, about 30.
Yeah. So, so think about that, for all of you watching, how many of you right now could use 30 new people in your database every month to talk to, right? That have shown some level of interest in real estate. Sure, a lot of us on here be like, oh, that sounds great. I could use 30 or more, leads, right? The best thing is it's affordable, right? And you can do this on your own, right? So, if Facebook retargeting is a real thing, it really allows you to target people that in your database, allows you to target people that shown intent on your website. Just make sure, even people that you've already acquired, retargeting them is really a nice strategy. And it's a strategy that businesses employ all the time. And the reason why is retargeted prospects are 70% more likely to convert.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
And it's really bringing people down the funnel. It's taking those, 30 people and bringing the real ones down the funnel further. So there's a link about Facebook retargeting. I think it's really important that that you take a look at that. The other thing too is you need to kick up our email, right? And what I mean by that is email is an underutilized tool that you all have. And by the way, it's free. We talk about being a resource. We talk about needing to inform and educate and share. But how many, when you think about the emails that you get from your competitors and others, how many of them are really achieving that being a resource, right? And we at Top Producers have realized that, and our customers have asked us to, hey, help me do that. And so what we've done is we've really kind of taken leadership and nurturing of your database to the next level that allows you to provide those tips and tricks and checklists, and that information that would be valuable to these people. You don't have to create it, it's already there for you, right? And if you're already a top producer customer, you have access to all of that right now. And I would, so one of the things I would think about is today, look at your process. You know, I'm sure lots of you are already doing this today. You're getting leads. It doesn't matter. Well, let's not worry about the source. You're getting leads. How are you, what value are you providing to those people? And just make sure that you can answer that question and challenge yourself to be like, you know what, I'm maybe not providing enough value right now. What else could I provide them? What do people in my market today, what are they worried about? What questions do they have? Right? So this is all inside of your top producer user. This is already free included in there. We added a bunch of really, really valuable pieces of content that you can provide to your database. Yeah, PDFs, guides, market reports, things like that. It's all available to inside your top producer account. All right, the other thing want to also talk about when it comes to, I'm going to skip here. So another thing, another one here is you get better results from email marketing by knocking twice. How many of you on here today have sent an email and you don't hear? Right? We don't hear back. No one responded. Right? One of the things that you could also think about is implement. So we talked about the triplet approach to lead follow-up. Here's a pro tip, knock twice. After 24 hours of sending an email, update the subject line and send the exact same email to those that didn't open the one that you sent. There was some data that showed that, for example, this freelance writer improved their open rates by 42% by using this method. So all they did was did the same thing again, except change the subject line and sent it again 24 hours later. So the one thing, you know, this comes back to what I said earlier, this is a contact sport. The more outreach you have, the more people you're gonna talk to. The other one too is share your success. I think that like you should be sharing all the things that you've accomplished and how you help people, right? You know, if you help someone sell a home quickly, include how long and how many offers and how much over asking, like shout to the top that you've done this, right? Use data to highlight your successes. It's the best way to prove, as Christine always says, prove you're the bomb. And, you know, and if you're investing in social media, you know, like Edward, you're obviously using, you know, Top Social Connect, where you can see the reach that you're getting through our platform. And you can see, you know, shout the impressions and the clicks, like, hey, look at the reach that my listings are getting. So if you list with me, look at this reach that I have on social media. That's a huge, huge plus. Okay. And it's something that, you know, you're providing, you're investing in, make sure you're sharing it. So use the data that you have. You all have this. You have a lot of things that you have done and done well. Share it. Nothing better than social proof in my mind.
Yep, I agree.
So that's another one. The other thing too, there is a time, and Edward, we talked about this, and there is a time when, I mean, I think you said it yesterday, there is a time when you end up breaking up with people.
Yes.
So can we talk about that? So look, I think the one thing, I think I saw a comment in the chat, you know, people said, well, these leads aren't good. So the reality of it is, and you and I had the discussion, and I love your view on this, but the reality of it is not everyone is going to end up in a transaction.
Correct.
Right? Like maybe you can talk about like, what's your view on it? I mean, I think the way you looked at it is like, you expect to get bad leads. Right? And but you also have a process like that disqualifies them and moves on to the next one, right? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I mean, yeah, when you know, when I say about, you know, 30 leads a week, and I mean, I'm sorry, 30 leads a month, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's expected. That's part of the territory. You're not every single lead's not going to be, that you're going to close. Obviously, it's a numbers game. So basically, the way it is that you, I guess you put them in what I personally put them like an A, B, C category, where A's the ones that are ready to buy within the next 20, 30, 40, 60 days. B, those maybe 3, 6 months, and then level C, 6 months plus to a year.
Mhm.
But going back to as far as they're not all going to be quality. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's a very small amount to be honest, but we got some that, well, I was looking for a rental, or things of that nature. But even then, eventually they may want to need to buy a house sometime. So you
Yeah.
put them on a future contact, and you put that in the system, and you'll call them in 6 months, a year. You never know when they get ready to buy a home. So there's no such thing as a bad lead. They're just not going to buy at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And there's an even smaller percentage that they're just kind of just scrolling through the web, through the
Yep.
internet. But that's
Yep.
a very small amount.
I,
But anyways,
I think there's a couple of things, and actually someone commented here, even what I consider a bad lead to later sent me a referral. So be nice. Look, I think it's important. This is an important topic because I feel like sometimes expectations are too high, right?
mhm,
The
mhm,
reality is online consumers, if you put your net out there,
mhm,
you're gonna get all different types of people that are in different
correct,
walks of life, in different situations. There's going to be people that you're going to get that just aren't ready to buy,
correct.
or they're never gonna buy, right?
Hmm. Yep,
Um, right, and I think that's just part of the process. That kind of comes back to the point that you need to increase the numbers. So how do
correct.
you overcome that? Is you acquire more people, right, to get to your goals? Because there is no such thing as a 50% conversion rate. There's not. Like, you're not
Correct.
going to generate how amazing would it be if you could generate 100 people and 50% of those are going to do a
Sure.
transaction with you? That's
Yeah,
just not reality. And it doesn't matter how great of a process you have. Okay.
correct.
And I think you have to be real around what your expectations are. And this comes back to casting that net, right? If you want to find, 5 new buyers right now, how many leads do you need to generate? It's probably in the hundreds,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And I think and by the way, if you could do that, that's great. Those are really great numbers. Um, but I think it's important too, is like, it's okay to break up with somebody, right?
Yeah.
If you have somebody that's just like, you said to me, it's like, I just get rid of them, right? If there's nothing there and there's no opportunity, you have to make that decision for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that, to say, hey, if you need anything, I'm here, but I won't be following up with you anymore, right? I think that's okay to
Correct.
say.
Yep.
Um, just don't do it too soon though,
Yep.
right? I think it's really important that you're gonna get a bunch of people that say, I'm not ready right now. Doesn't mean they're not telling you they're not ready ever. So to each your own, I think, when it comes to this, but there is probably a point when you disqualify people. And I love
Yep.
everyone here saying, you know what? I just keep them there. I send them holiday cards. I say hi, but I don't really educate them on real estate. I'm just there. And if you never know what happens. I agree. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, you paid to acquire that person. You might as well get some value out of it. I love that. So,
Yep.
okay. The other thing too, and why this is important, is I mentioned, we need to cast that wider net, and we're so focused on social media. I'm going to say this right now. Social media, if you're not doing it today, you need to do it. Okay. Um, when you look at 2021, go back 2 years ago, and things have changed, right? Referrals were always like still the lifeblood of real estate, and I don't think that's going to change. But when you look at what other marketing tactics have actually helped agents get business, 3 of the top 4 were social media, right?
Mhm.
It was posting and sharing and being a resource. It was buying leads from social media. It was running Facebook ads and different types of copy on social media, right? And the reason for that comes back to what I said earlier. It's affordable and the reach is huge, right? And ultimately, to grow your business, you need to put yourself where consumers are. They're online, right? And not only are they online, okay? Um, is they're not, it's not only about being online, it's about the fact that, hey, these people are on social, right? And again, there's different ways you can acquire leads online, but what's the one that's really gonna help you get to your numbers? So, hey, Edward, just on your thing, like you've obviously been in this for a little while, you mentioned, the leads that you've generated. We talked about, you've got some real opportunities from them though,
Yes, I have, definitely.
right? So,
Yes,
yeah, and I think that's the most important thing is there are real opportunities out there. You just got to weed through a few to find them,
correct,
right?
correct, correct.
Yeah, perfect. So again, I think you need to do this. And look, there's a lot of different ways, paid and non-paid, that you can put yourself out there on social media. It's just if you're not taking advantage of social media today, it's an area that you should really consider in your business. Yeah, and that's where that's where Top Producer realized, hey, we have this great opportunity to help, the industry really take advantage of this and do the heavy lifting. And that's where, Edward is talking from the lens of he uses Social Connect, right? And really what Social Connect is what we just talked about, we do this all for you. So we've given you all this tips. So we talked about how you need to follow up and respond quickly and nurture and share content and be a resource. Then we also talked about, hey, you need to go and acquire people and generate people. How nice would it be if you didn't have to do any of that? Right? And Edward, I think you have a good balance there where you let Top Producer do its part and then you just interject when it's time. Like to your point, like, hey, I let Top Producer respond to these people, then I follow up with a call later.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
But the reality of it is Edward's not running ads. He's not having to do any of that. We're doing that for him, and we're generating those leads on Edward's behalf. And then we're also following up with him on Edward's behalf. And then Edward can go in and deal with responses and interject his personal touch, and to do it affordably, right? So look, you could do this on your own. You're probably potentially could spend $50 to $100 per lead. If we use Edward's example of 30 leads a month, pretty expensive, right? But that's where social media and doing it on social media is really valuable because it's a numbers game. Going to generate a ton of people. We're going to create those conversations to then bring them down the funnel to the point where, Edward mentioned, hey, I got opportunities, right? And how do we do that? We basically service ads that we run on your behalf of your solds and your listings in your market that you have, or your office, depending on MLS, in your local market, right? We run these ads, we put them in front of that consumer. People see them, they click on them, they fill out their information, and they become an opportunity for you. And then our automation kicks off, and we respond to them, nurture them, and give them that content that we talked about, all on your behalf. So imagine doing all this without having to do any of it. Edward, do you think I captured that from your view?
That's definitely. I mean, time. Time is money. I mean, if you can save a lot of your time dedicated to things that you can, do to, follow up. I mean, this automatic follow up system. I mean, it's huge. It takes a lot of off of my plate to concentrate what I got to do. But at the same time, I know that those leads are being contacted without me actually spending the time to do it, and it's just huge. It's huge. Save.
Look, it comes back to the two things. You need to generate the people to talk to, and you need to have the systems and the processes to follow up and engage them.
Yep.
We're providing both of those, right, to you. So, and we're doing it in a very, very affordable way. And even more affordable for those of you that are here today. So, one of the things is if this is of interest to you, look, there's a lot of great content in here that you can think about and apply to your business. If you already have existing processes or existing sources, or, you're just looking at, gosh, how do I got all these people, but I'm not talking to them. Like, what do I need to do differently? There's a lot of great tips and tricks in here. But if you're like, I need to grow my business right now and I need a bunch of new people to talk to, this is a great solution for you. That is super affordable. And typically what we see is around $10 a lead. So when we talk about affordability, you know, if you and it could be even be lower, but on average, we see about a $10 per lead cost. How nice would it be to get, you know, 30 leads for $300 a month? It's pretty good. So, if you're so if this aligns with what you're trying to do right now, which, you know, everyone we're talking to right now is like, Keith, looking for ways to grow. I need people. This is a great offer for you. All of this is run through Facebook. We do have, for those of you that even have joined this webinar, we have a great offer that your first month is 50% off. So go get those leads for pretty much free for the first month, right? It's 50% off any top producer solution. If you're not using top producer for lead nurture, not using Social Connect to help you fill your funnel with new potential opportunities, it's half off for your first month. And we're also going to discount our absolutely amazing concierge service, where our customer success team does everything for you. It's normally $300 a month, $300 for that. It's $99 right now. So if you're really looking for like, what do I need to do to supercharge my business? This is a great opportunity. Hey, Edward, anything that that you think I missed, that, you know, you have real life experience here. What would you say is like your biggest like thing that makes this work for you?
Well, there's a lot of things. Well, not a lot. There was a few. I want to. I'll narrow it down.
Yeah.
It's just the tools that are in Top Producer, the ease of use. It's not very difficult to learn how to use it. It's a very small learning curve.
Yep.
All the support that you get, the outreach you're getting with some of these leads. It's just all in one, and it's a tool that's, again, I go back to that. It's something that's helped me and become even more successful in the sense I'm getting some leads that I would have spent a lot more time, a lot more money, and Top Producer is definitely filling that void. But yeah, it's just the ease of use, the features and that are included, the support that you're getting, the setup. I mean, this whole setup with the Top Producer is definitely worth the investment. It
Yeah.
really is. And not only it's providing value, it's providing value to you as an agent, and you know that's going to reflect on your leads.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard a comment. Someone said something to me. It's like, Keith, I want to do what I do best, which is help people buy and sell real estate, and I want to delegate the rest.
Perfect.
Right.
That's well said.
Right. And I heard that and I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Right. Like it was hard to argue with that perspective. Right. So,
Yep.
yeah. So a couple of things. One is a lot of what I showed today, you can bring it, if you're already generating leads, you can bring all those leads into our system, and our system can convert and nurture them. The goal of our system, I'm going to be upfront with you, is to create conversations for you. Like at the end of the day, we want you to be able to talk to as many people as possible and get to that point of, is this an A, a B, or a C in Edwards, and the way Edwards classifies things, right? And you know, that is the biggest opportunity here. The best thing to do is, if you have questions around pricing and availability, is reach out to our team at this phone number here, give them your markets, right? Give them your markets, say, here, I'm interested in getting, you know, leads from these markets. What type of options do I have available? And our team will put a package and price together for you that meets your business needs. But look, right now is such a great opportunity to really take advantage of this and really grow your database, so that you can really, you know, bring those people through the funnel ultimately to help where you can create transactions for yourself and your business. So this has been great. Edward, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing. You know, I love, you know, bringing that real world, you know, example, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day. It looks like you're maybe sitting outside of a showing somewhere, or getting ready for something else.
Yeah, there you go.
But you know, I appreciate you taking time out of your day, spending it with us, also sharing how, you know, the things that you're doing to make this work for you and be a success for yourself. And then for all of you, thank you for joining, taking time out of your day. There's a lot of information here. You can do it, but there is still that foundation, right? You need to generate a steady stream of people to talk to, and you need to have systems and tools to help you create those conversations. Simple as that. So how you do that, that's up to you. Okay. But we really at Top Producer, as Edward said, we have a great single platform that kind of does both of those things for you and does it extremely well, with a focus on creating conversations for you. So thank you all. I really appreciate this. Have a great rest of your day. And if you have any questions, reach out to our team at this phone number.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Edward.
Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.
We all have a rest of an awesome rest of your week here.